Hello everyone, I'm Milo and welcome to my town. In this video, I wanted to showcase the methods that I used to get the 3 rare variants of soft Pokémon in Pokémon Scarlet and Violet. I'm talking about the family of 3 Maushold, the 3-segment Dudunsparce, and the authentic Sinistea. All 3 of these species share a common thing. Out of every one of 100 of these species, there's a chance that there is a rare variant out of them. For the first 2, this is determined by a random value that is assigned when the Pokémon spawns, and for the Sinistea, it's a specific mark that you can visually see. Every 1 out of 100 of these species of Pokémon will have this rare gene, so to speak, that will allow it to evolve into something else when it does. For the Tandemaus, when it evolves, instead of evolving to a family of 4, which is the default, it will instead evolve into a family of just 3 mice. For the Dudunsparce, instead of just getting 2 segments as the regular evolution, it will get 3 bodies. Finally, for Sinistea, just some of them have a marking inside of their teacups that marks that they're authentic and not just a phony recreation. In this video, I will showcase you the strats that I used to get them. You can find any relevant timestamps in the description, so let's begin. First than nothing, these are the recommended options that I suggest to put on. Text speed on fast, skip move learning on, send to boxes automatic, give nicknames off, and autosaves in off. The first hunt is gonna be the Dudunsparce. For this, you'll want to catch 2 Dudunsparce, 1 male and 1 female. They spawn commonly on the caves in Area 0, so you can catch them there. Go to their moveset and make sure you forget every single move besides Hyper Drill. If they don't have it already, you can just make them remember it. We are doing this because a Hyper Drill can be inherited as an egg move, so if we beat down these 2 Dudunsparce, any offspring will have the move immediately and will be able to evolve just at level 2. To begin the process, put down a manual save. Once you have the Pokémon ready, go to Alfornada and pick this meal in this restaurant. It will give us level 2 of egg power. You may want to go to your box menu and place yourself in a place where you have empty boxes, to make it less confusing. Make sure you only have the 2 Dudunsparce in your team and set up a picnic. By doing this, eventually we'll start to get Dunsparce eggs in the basket. At this egg power, I suggest you check the basket every 4 or 5 minutes. You should be able to get the maximum amount of eggs that it can have, which is 10. You can do this for as long as you like. When I personally did this, I stayed the whole 30 minutes of the meal power, and I ended up with 2 full boxes, 60 eggs. It's up to you how many you get, but it's recommended to have a decent amount to test on, since it's not so common that you will be getting it early on. Since there is a chance that none of the eggs that we're going to test are going to be the 3 segment that we seek, we can just remove this progress by reloading the save that we made. So for now, I do not recommend you save. Once you have all the eggs that you want to test with, grab yourselves a flame body Pokémon. I recommend Talonflame. They can be found commonly in raids or just wild in the Area 0. The next part is hatching the eggs. Equip your Talonflame and 5 eggs in your body, and start hatching them. You can grab the egg power meal again to accelerate the process. I do recommend it. It's up to you how to do this next part, but what I personally did was hatch all of the eggs that I had, deposit that in my boxes and continue with the rest until I was done. You can verify that they indeed know Hyper Drill, so just gaining a single level will evolve them. By knocking down any Pokémon, they will start the evolution process. Now go to the first route in Poképath, equip 5 of the Dunsparces in your body, and just knock out any wild Pokémon. The experience that you get will be enough to start the revolution. You can pan the camera to the side to verify if you did get the 3 segment or not. It makes it a bit easier. If you hatch all of your eggs, evolve all of the Dunsparces, and none of them end up being the 3 segment, at this point you can simply close out the game and reload your save file before we even got our first meal in Alfornada. You can repeat the process and just try again. Keep in mind that the odds are 1 to 100. They are not likely in your favor, but if you persevere, you will get it. I will show right now the clip of when I got it. As I said, I personally laid 60 eggs, and it was the hatch number 35 that contained it. I got a bit lucky that I didn't need to do another batch. In the end, I just released the other 59 Dunsparces that I didn't care about, and I just kept the one that I got. And just in case you're curious, once an egg has been laid, it's already determined whether or not it's gonna be the rare variant or not. So it's pointless to save when you have the eggs and try to hatch them again, as you will always get the same results. Anyway, just repeat this until you get them, and that's how the process goes. Next up is the family of 3 Maushold. There's actually a way to get them from raids. Apparently, if you find a 4-star raid of a Maushold, it will always be the family of 3 version. I have not found any myself, so I can't confirm this for sure, but I've heard that it is the case. If you are in the unlucky side that hasn't been able to get a raid, then you'll have to do it manually. The method I recommend is going to the Pokémon League. As always, drop a hard save before you start the process, and make yourself the recipe number 80 ham sandwich. This will give us encounter power normal. Just level 1 is enough to make Tandemos spawn more often in this area. We're gonna be using quick balls, so I recommend you have at least 35 of them on your inventory. Have a single Pokémon in your party and start encountering and catching Tandemos. I recommend you catch 35. That is 5 that will go into your inventory and an additional 30 to fill up a full box. I feel like this is a good group to test with. In my own test, it took me about 15 minutes to do this process, so I had another 15 minutes of my meal power active. We can take advantage of this by going into the northern side of the map by the Team Star ferry base. Here is where the chances spawn, and since we have the meal power for encounter normal, they will be appearing pretty regularly. Have 5 of the Tandemos in your party and a Pokemon that's strong enough and start taking down the chances. It takes about 3 chances defeated for any of the Tandemos caught on that area to reach level 25. This is why it was important to turn off the learning moves, as it will skip time in here. Now, thankfully, Tandemos does not have an evolution animation unless it's present in the battle, so once they hit level 25, you can just simply hit X to check on your menu and verify if any of your Tandemos evolved into a family of 3 Maushold. You'll know because of their little icon that actually reflects this. If there is none, then just go into your boxes, change your Pokemon, and try again with the next group. You can do this with all the 35 that you did. If none of them end up being a family of 3, you can simply close the game and open it again before we did anything again. You can then restart this process. When I did this, I had to discard the first batch of 35, so I reset my save file. While I was doing batch number 2, I actually ran into a random shiny, so I did keep all that progress and just released them. Finally, on my final batch, my 98 check of a Maushold ended up being the family of 3. Once again, it's all up to luck. When I was recording the footage for this video, I got it with just a group of 5, so it's just a matter of keep trying and you will eventually get it. Finally, for the antique or authentic Sinistea, the hunt is a little easier, but you need to know where to look. If you look at the Pokédex for Funiform Sinistea, you'll see the areas where it can spawn. I would bet that the grand majority of players choose the ruins at the top of the hill of Afornada, since that's where they see them more often. Turns out that if you actually have the entry for the antique form, they are only spawning in this little plain right here, so you're doing it wrong if you go up there. I personally went up there when I was getting it, and for the first 15 minutes I got nothing. Of course, now I know why. The way we're gonna do this is by using a Humongo power recipe. This isn't entirely confirmed, but it worked for me and I have heard that it works for many more people. It seems like the antique forms spawn more often where you have Humongo power on. Plus, it makes it easier to actually verify the Sinesteas without having to initiate battle with them. The recipe I used is the number 6, the Spicy Jambon Bear. It does use a Herba Mystica, so keep that in mind. This will give us Humongo power level 2 for Ghost type. As far as I know, this is the highest level that Humongo power can go. Even though it's not encounter, I think just by having this, the rate of Ghost type Pokemon does increase a little bit. Go to Alfornada to the plains that are besides the town, and I recommend you do this at daytime, as in the nighttime other Pokemon like Banette can spawn, and we don't want them taking up space on the spawns. Now just start walking around and you'll start to see Sinistea. In theory, they will be a bit bigger thanks to the Humongo power, and thankfully they are docile in nature, so you can just come close to them and just pan the camera at an angle where you can verify whether or not they have the antique mark. If they don't, then you can simply take them out with the Let's Go feature and keep moving around. More will spawn eventually, and if you keep looking, you will find them. When I did this, as I said, I started at the top of the hill for the first 15 minutes of my sandwich, but that yielded no results. I moved to the bottom part for the last 15 minutes of my sandwich, and within 10 minutes I found 2 of the antique ones. Also, just as a precaution, I did the test and they do indeed die if you send down the Let's Go Pokemon with it, so make sure you don't do that. This one should get done way quicker than the others, since you can just manually check without any battles, and you can knock out Pokemon easily to keep refreshing the spawns and getting more chances to see one. I have heard reports from people that say that if they have encountered on Sparkling Power for Ghost, this seems to not spawn any antique ones, so that's why I recommended the Humongo recipe instead of that one. There are some people that have gotten it without any sandwich, but I think the Humongo does help, so that's why I personally recommend it. Just like the other methods, if you used a sandwich and didn't get any Sinistea, you can just refresh your game before you did the sandwich to get your materials back. However, they spawn fairly often, so I heavily doubt you won't come across even a single one with a sandwich active. Anyway, those were my tips for getting each of the 3 rare species in Paldea. I hope this video was useful to you. And don't forget, you'll always be welcome in my town. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.